Good afternoon everyone, and welcome back to Buying a Home in Queenstown property series. Today I'm going to talk about body corporate, which is important if you are looking at buying a unit titled property. Today with me is Richard Hutchins. Hello Richard.
Hi.
Richard is from Queenstown Management, a company that looks after body corporate, and he's the person that will explain to us what body corporate actually is. Can we start with that question, Richard?
Absolutely. A body corporate is the name that is given to the group of owners in any complex. To be a member of the body corporate, you have to be an owner. Nobody else is a member. The body corporate owns the common areas in a unit titled development. So whether that is a driveway, the gardens, stairs, corridors, lifts, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the body corporate, being the group of owners, are responsible for those areas, they own them, and for repairs and maintenance in those areas.
I see. All right. So when people think of buying a property, they come to an agent like myself, and there is something called the pre-contract disclosure statement. That's a document that comes directly from body corporate.
Absolutely. When you approach an agent to look at, you don't have to be on the point of buying, but when you are looking at a unit in a body corporate development, you will be provided with a pre-contract disclosure statement. That is just what it says. It discloses various pieces of information about the body corporate. You'll learn things like the amount of the body corporate levies, the balances in the body corporate bank accounts, the planned maintenance for the coming year, and whether there have been any claims under the leaky homes legislation in respect of that unit.
People are very interested in this, the weather tightness issues.
Oh,
so that's
absolutely, and that statement gives you a definitive answer on whether there have been any claims under the legislation in respect of that unit.
Oh, yes, so that's very easy, isn't it? People have a starting point.
Yes.
Right. So when people are more interested, and I guess it gets to the point that people make an offer on the property, and during their due diligence, they can ask for further disclosure from body corporate. Is that right?
They can.
Yeah.
When you get to the point where you are thinking about making an offer, whether or not you've made one, you can, and it is probably advisable to request more information. That is likely to be things like copies of the most recent AGM minutes, the annual general meeting of the owners. That will give you a flavour for what is being discussed in terms of planned maintenance, whether there are any other issues that you need to be aware of. So it's a good idea to ask for the copy or copies of maybe the last 2 or 3 years AGM minutes. You should also be requesting a copy of the long-term maintenance plan. Every body corporate is required to have one. A long-term maintenance plan looks out for a 10-year period in the future and sets out the maintenance that is planned during that period. And then finally, the other document that I think is advisable to ask for is a copy of the operational rules of the body corporate, which sets out what you might call the house rules for living there. I think that is very useful for potential buyers, because there will be items in there which won't be common to all body corporates. For instance, some body corporates do not allow pets, or they only allow them after seeking specific approval.
So it's better to check up front if you have a cat or a dog and you want
Absolutely,
to live it.
and that's just one example. The rules cover any manner of things about where people, for instance, may be allowed to park, but it's just advisable to understand all those items before you go in and buy.
How long does it usually take from the moment people request information to when it's provided?
Oh, we can provide the information straight away,
24
overnight.
hours.
Yeah, overnight.
24 hours.
It's information that any body corporate manager will have at their fingertips. So it's just a case of, we get a request from somebody such as yourself and just fire the information back. Sometimes there may be a few follow-up questions, and then the potential buyer has all the information they need.
Perfect. All right. So from a perspective, if I am a buyer and buy into a body corporate situation, what are the obligations of the owners? What do they need to do?
Right, well, I suppose one of the things that people are always concerned about when buying into a body corporate is the amount of the levies that they're required to contribute. Obviously, as I mentioned before, you'll be made aware of that in the disclosure statement. As an owner and therefore a member of the body corporate, you're entitled to attend the AGM, the annual general meeting, and that is when all the decisions are made for the forthcoming year. Probably the most significant one being the setting of the levy, which is decided by the owners. So once you become an owner, you are a decision maker at that meeting, and the owners, by in most cases a simple majority, will decide the level of the levies for the forthcoming year. And the other big item is generally what maintenance they wish to carry out. And then we, as the body corporate manager, are there to implement those decisions. So we will and then invoice owners for their levies. And for instance, where it comes to maintenance, we will seek quotes from the contractors, and then the owners or a committee of owners will make a decision, and we will then implement that decision for whatever the maintenance is.
So it's a very straightforward process. You manage the process, you give people advice and follow the instructions.
Absolutely. I think as a person buying into a body corporate for the first time, what's useful to understand is you become a member of the body corporate. Only the owners are. You are the decision makers in all regards with what is happening around there. The manager of the body corporate is there to implement the decisions taken by the owners, either at the AGM or, as is often the case with slightly bigger complexes where there's 10 or more owners, is that there will be a committee of owners formed to take the day-to-day decisions that need to be taken throughout the year. For instance, if there's something that needs fixing or review of the quotes from contractors, then the committee will take those decisions. They then instruct the manager to go and implement them.
Then it's very handy because Richard is Queenstown based, unlike some body corporates which are away, not in Queenstown. It's very easy to talk to Richard.
I think it's makes a lot of sense, shall we say, to have a locally based body corporate manager who can be on site, meet the owners if need be, meet with the committee when they need to, and meet with the contractors, especially when they're on site carrying out the work.
So, well, thank you very much for your time and all the useful information, Richard. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And you will find Richard's contact details at the end of the video with a phone number, email address, and so you can ask the question directly, or feel free to call me as well, and then we can put you in touch.